Hey everyone, what's going on? It's your boy Krebsy Crypto, and for today's video, we're just going to quickly go over this article. It's more news about the Intel Arc, and this is about the Intel Arc A-Series desktop, the GPU pricing, performance, positioning, TDP, and memory configurations for each of the Intel Arc A's. And like I said, this is the whole A-Series as the title says here, so let's jump right into it here. In the Intel Arc A770, which is the top of the line Intel Arc A-Series graphics card, is currently set to debut for under 400 USD. So that's a pretty fair price point compared to like the RTX series and the Radeon series. The Intel is looking to be more of a budget-friendly GPU, as I've mentioned in my first video about these. So that's what makes it nice even for like mining or gaming perspective. If you're on a budget, the Intel Arc series seems to be your best bet, and seems to be your best bet for your buck as well, because there's been some performance releases and it's outdoing the RTX 3060s and things like that. So it's obviously a better performance, which means it'll be better for mining as well. But let's just get back to the article here. So now keep in mind, unlike the official benchmarks, which just talked about there, everything mentioned in this article is subject to change and improvement. That said, this is a document that Intel has already shared with their major Taiwanese partners, so it's definitely accurate as of right now and has a very high likelihood of staying accurate, as information shared with partners in the segment of the supply chain is usually final or close to final. Without any further ado, here it is, and here's the desktop SKUs for the Intel Arc series and on a comparable chart to the RTX and GTX and Radeon series. So we'll take a look at that right now. So we'll take a look at the entry level one. So that's at the very bottom there, the entry level, which is $99 or $100 and under. And right now we have the GTX 1050/1050 Ti at 75 watts, and that's 2 to 4 gigabytes. And that's just kind of right between the mainstream and entry line. There's nothing for Radeon, so as you see in the AMD lineup, AMD doesn't make anything for like the very low budget miners or gamers or things like that. And over here on the right hand side, we have the Intel Arc A310, and that's even below what the GTX 1050 or 1050 Ti is. So the barrier for entry point to get somewhat of a decent graphics card is going to be under $100 for the Intel lineup, and that's the A310, and that's at 75 watts at 4 gigabytes. So that's a good starter graphics card. That's almost comparable in a sense to the 1650, I would more so assume. But then again, that's just my opinion and my look on it. So the next up in line is the A380, and that's at 75 watts, and that's at 6 gigabytes. It's still under the Radeon lineup, so the AMD doesn't have anything on the mainstream perspective for $100 to $149, where GTX or NVIDIA, if you want to say, they have the 1650 100 watt 4 gigabyte. So it's a fair play. It's kind of even with it, as you see the Intel Arc A380. It's kind of matched up, but it's still going to be a lower price than what the GTXs both are. And that's very great for starter graphics cards and good for starter gamers or starter miners, because it's just going to open up a whole new window of budget mining or budget gaming. And then we'll take a little bit of a gap where the AMD has some in the mainstream for 150 to 199. Both NVIDIA and Intel do not have anything in that lineup, but AMD does with the Radeon 6500 XT. That's 107 watts at 4 gigabytes. And they have the Radeon 6400 at 53 watts and 4 gigabytes. And like I said, that's in the mainstream, so that's something if you're spending just a little more money, you're going to get a little bit more bang for your buck. But if we look up at the performance sector, and that's $200 to $299, and keep in mind this is an American price, so it's not converted over to Canadian or anything like that. You have the RTX 3050, and it's not sure of the wattage there. There's just the W, so there's no actual wattage. I'm not sure what it actually is, but I'm pretty sure it's a higher wattage, obviously being a performance graphics card, and that's at 8 gigabytes, and that's for NVIDIA's lineup. And again, there's another gap for AMD. They don't have anything in the lower performance sector here. But then if we look over, we have the A580, and at 175 watts and 8 gigabytes, that's going to be your Intel release there, and it's pretty much matched up with the NVIDIA RTX 3050 for price point wise and performance wise. So you're getting like pretty much your bang for your buck. You have to either NVIDIA or Intel, whichever you want to support there. But if we go up a little bit more here on the Intel side, we have the A750. That's at 225 watts, and that's at 8 gigabytes. And just above it, we have the A770, and that's 225 watts at 16 or 8 gigabytes. So you have an option there for like pretty high-end performance, I guess you could say, for 16 gigabytes. Because if we look over at the AMD section even, they have the Radeon 6650 XT, and that's 180 watts, so it's a little less wattage than the Intel, and that's at 8 gigabytes. And just below it's the Radeon 6600, and that's 132 watts for 8 gigabytes. So your wattage is lower with the Radeon series. And if we go over to the NVIDIA lineup, the RTX 3060, that's 170 watts, and that's at 12 gigabytes. And then just above it, that's the RTX 3060 Ti, and that's at 200 watts at 8 gigabytes. So compared to the Intel, AMD and NVIDIA have less wattage, but then you're getting a little more power with the Intel lineup, like 8 gigabyte, then 16 and 8 gigabyte, and they're all around the same price point. As you see, there's a little shift for the Intel side compared to AMD and NVIDIA. It's going to be a little under the 300 to 399 price point, where NVIDIA and AMD is locked in right at the 300 to 399. And we know that, and the price points can be higher with the RTX and Radeon. We've seen that in the recent years, either resellers or just due to manufacturing. Things have gone up in the price. But unfortunately, there's nothing in the enthusiast lineup for Intel. As you see here, we have the RTX 3070 and above for NVIDIA, and the Radeon 6750 and above for AMD, but nothing for Intel. And that's alright, because like I said, Intel is looking more so to be the budget-friendly graphics card. And so far, according to this chart, they're doing very well with that. Maybe their wattage is a bit higher once you hit their performance graphics cards. But that's all right, because you are still saving money a little bit, as it looks like on this chart here. And performance wise, these outdo the 3060s and the 3050s and even the Radeon series as well. There's been a chart released, and that's been confirmed and everything. And the performance frame rates per second and just graphical power, there's more in the Intel than there is with the NVIDIA and AMD lineup. So as we see here as well, this is kind of like another style of the chart they did. And this is just for all the Intel ones here. So the A310, which is your entry level for graphics cards, it's 75 watts, 4 gigabytes. It's going to be $100 and under. The A380 is your mainstream line, 75 watts, 6 gigabytes, and that's going to run you $125 to $149. The A580 is a performance one, and that's 175 watts, and that's 8 gigabytes, and that's $200 to $249. Where the A750 is performance plus, that's 225 watts at 8 gigabytes at $279 to $349. And mind you, these prices may change once like they get released out into the world. Obviously, these are American-based prices, but again, things might change as mentioned at the start of this article. And then the A770 is another performance plus one, 225 watt, and this is the option of 8 gigabyte to 16 gigabyte, and this is going to run you $349 to $399. So I just went over this just to show you a little more pinpoint precision of the marketing for pricing on the Intel A series there. So as the article says, while we don't even know the exact pricing of these parts, we can guess the brackets using the slide given above. Just like the A380, which has an MSRP of $135 and competing with the NVIDIA GTX 1650 with an MSRP of $190. Even the NVIDIA 1630 has an MSRP of $169. Intel's Arc lineup seems to be priced to undercut the competition. Like I was mentioning, it seems to be the more budget friendly, but it could still get you that gaming performance and high-end performance according to the performance chart on things. I might even throw a picture of that up so you guys can see that it outdoes a lot of the competition, and they're even undercutting the price. And like I mentioned, this is a kind of a guess point for the price bracket. We've had some leaks and some information, so we can only run off of that really and hope that this is all legitimate news. But again, it is always hard to say if these things are solid in print, because once they hit American markets and hit Canadian markets and more global markets, when you add in recently just inflation pricing and like the cost of the chips, with the chip shortage and things like that, there could be a lot of, I guess you could say, uncertainty with the price. But I'm hoping these stay accurate, because if that's the case, it's going to allow a lot of gamers and also miners to get their hands on like a whole new series of lineup at a much more fair price. Instead of going out and blowing like a whole paycheck or more on just a graphics card, you'll be able to actually get something more within an actual budget range. But yeah, I tried to make this as quick as possible for you guys. That's pretty much all the more info I got on these Intel Arc A-series. If you did enjoy, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, as it lets me know you guys are enjoying these news type videos. And like I said, more tutorials should be coming out. I just kind of been focusing on some news and working on that prior bigger video I was working on there. So hopefully I can get the rhythm up and going a little more for tutorials. I try my best since I can't actually mine where I am right now. So I just try to look up information and things like that to try to help you guys out, because I'm all about trying to help you guys in the community with mining, especially budget miners. But I hope you all have an amazing day, and this is Krebsy Crypto signing out.